You look beautiful, Jenkins.
Thank you so much. I think I look really female. This is so weird.
Honestly, Jenkins, it brings out the inner beauty more so than anything.
Well, the outer beauty as well, obviously. In my case.
BananaSlamJaron.
Okay, welcome everybody. Jenkins, welcome. You are our guest for this third episode. I asked about 10 other people, but we managed to finally find somebody willing to come on the show. So, Jenkins, we appreciate you being here. This week, before I let you speak, is going to be about, I want to talk about like stream personas and how people come off either on broadcasting, on just streams in general when they're on TV or, online broadcasting compared to how they are in real life. And I thought that was a good topic to talk about with Jenkins. And especially monkeys, too, because I feel like, for instance, just as a leader here, for me, people think I'm a toxic shitter. There's no way that's true, right? With monkeys, I hear people say, why is he sad all the time? And with Jenkins, I feel like most of the things they think about Jenkins are pretty accurate. So welcome, guys. How you guys doing today, monkeys? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
We're all done here, Jenkins. We got drunk last night and sang some karaoke. You said you're still hungover. You feeling any better?
I'm better. Played some games with Cap for no particular reason. We're just practicing for no particular reason. VSJ. Monkeys, you're looking swole, dude. I saw those biceps, dude. I'm not gonna ignore that. Even go to the gym?
I have started up rock climbing again, after my knee healed, dude. So.
Nice.
Dude, he was the one that got me into rock climbing, and I was doing
for like 2 months, and then you were like, "Oh, this is boring without friends."
Well, yeah, when I went in Arizona and I was at the rock climbing gym, and then I just couldn't motivate because everyone there was way better than me, and I didn't want to talk to people that were way better than me.
What are you talking about? The rock climbing community is so fucking inviting.
Yeah, they're really nice, but I felt uncomfortable because I'm they're all so much better than me. There weren't any noobs, man.
That's some toxic gaming Dota mindset shit. That's dude, these guys are such higher MMR than me at rock climbing. They're gonna think I'm so bad.
It really is a Dota mentality. It's oh no, I'm ashamed to be here.
Yes. Dude, you can't get reported in rock climbing, bro.
That is true.
Welcoming.
And I also don't bring my teammates down. I probably make them feel better if I suck, to be fair.
That's true. What's the cheerleader effect?
Yeah, that's true. The cheerleader effect that you're giving us right now, because you are really looking like a snack down there, Jenkins.
It's the opposite, but I appreciate it. I'll take that as a compliment.
Hey man, I know what you were going for, but I think of cheerleaders as attractive, so we'll give you the attractive cheerleader one here. No innuendos necessary. So with that in mind, I think for monkeys, you kind of came out as a bigger streamer about a year ago, right? And yeah. I would ask you to start this conversation off, what's the initial thing you noticed people seeing in you that you didn't really think was accurate when you started having more viewers that didn't necessarily watch you all the time?
Well, as you said in the beginning, people honestly do come into my stream when I'm playing Dota and look at my face and my facial expressions or whatever. And when I'm playing Dota, I'm full focus mode. I don't give a shit what I look like or anything. So I have resting sad face, I call it. I mean, it's pretty much just resting bitch face. And people always look at me and they're like, "Why are you so sad all the time? Why are you so or why aren't you just exuding happiness at all points in time while playing Dota?" And I'm like, well, you see, typically when you're thinking about a lot of things, you can't really worry about what your appearance is and how you come across to the average viewer and everything. And I personally feel like I'm a fairly happy individual, and but you have to actually hear me talk and be engaged in conversation or something to be able to tell that about myself, because when I'm playing Dota, all I'm thinking about is Dota. That is the only thing on my mind, and I don't really care about any of the other external crap that's going on in the stream or whatever. So
would you say it's fair that like if you have no time to think in real life, meaning like you're very preoccupied doing something else, do you think you also look sad then, or like do you have to think to be
Well,
happy?
I mean, I
What?
don't know. I don't look at myself the other way. I mean, in my opinion, the happiness is like it's a mentality, right? Like, I mean, I am a happy individual, so like to me, I am happy, and I know that about myself. And something I've kind of just adapted over the years is just not caring what people think about me, because like there's no point in trying to appease literally every single person. Like
It's not possible. Like
it really isn't.
nobody would like the problem is if you appeased every single person, you'd be so boring and bland that you wouldn't have an audience.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you have to appeal to like a sub audience.
Yeah, exactly. Like as you said, the only way to actually make everyone happy is to like be as bland and like just nonchalant as possible, and that's just not really an interesting way to live life.
No.
So Jenkins here, my question. So you've been predominantly on YouTube, right? Prior
Yeah,
to this
that was a
event.
mistake.
Why was that a mistake? Feel free to elaborate before we lead into this.
Okay. Well, I'm memeing a bit. It definitely wasn't a mistake. It's just that on Twitch is definitely like the platform for esports. I think that's becoming very clear now. Twitch, especially with COVID, it's looking like it's kind of the new TV. People are running out of shit to watch on Netflix, and everybody's turning to streams. So, and YouTube's great for that, but Twitch, it feels like the Wild West. Maybe a little bit less so now than like a year ago or whatever, but it's like how YouTube used to be before ads were the adpocalypse, where they went down to be worth like 10% as much. It's like there's basically a lot of money and a lot of viewership in Twitch, whereas with YouTube it brings people to your Twitch, but like Twitch is like the main thing for esports people for the most part these days. And when I started on YouTube, I didn't think of that. I mean, I just had I think a lot of people didn't have any idea like how big Twitch was going to be, really.
Yeah, so
That's
Mike,
all.
I guess the thing about YouTube that's so different than Twitch, which I initially think, is that on YouTube you kind of just give highlights of yourself. You're not constantly broadcasting. So my question would be, do you feel like the people's impression of who you are is accurately reflected in your YouTube videos because of that?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Like it's obviously like a very amplified version. Whatever type of video I'm trying to make, it's like uh, for just for example, like my voice, like I don't sound like I sound on a YouTube video in real life, because if I don't like the way something sounds, because I'm not putting enough emphasis on something, I can like re-record it. So people might not be able to like recognize my voice if I'm like casting or something. It's like they're not sure if it's like that guy from YouTube, So I mean that's just like one thing, but there's like a lot that I think is amplified, and you can like edit, right? If you're streaming, you're sitting there for like 8 hours all day. Like at some point, your real personality will come out. There's no fucking way to hide it. It's impossible. But on YouTube, you can actually hide it. Like you can be a real piece of shit and have a YouTube, and nobody will ever know. But if you're streaming, there's no way you can stream for 2 weeks. Like if you're a racist and you're streaming for 2 weeks, you're gonna drop the N-bomb at some point. You're gonna get banned. You know what I mean? Like that shit comes out. Like if you're a type of person, like eventually it's gonna come out. If you're just sitting on your computer for 8 hours a day.
So are you telling us you're
That was a bad example,
are you
but...
secretly a piece of shit, and that's why you're sticking to YouTube?
No. Okay, I think there's enough. It's just time spent in front of a camera, really. And the type of content, like even when we're doing this, what do they call it? The Omega show, like between the games or whatever.
Yeah.
When they're doing like quizzes and just asking us questions or having the funny face go on, like that still is like something to work with, right? But when you're streaming, it's literally just fucking you. You just turn the camera on, broadcast to the internet. You just do the thing you're normally doing. You're just like living life, right? So it's very different. It's just too unstructured. But man,
so
there's a lot of money in streaming, right, Banana?
Let's not talk about my personal life right now, Jenkins. That's not why I brought you on the show.
Not you.
Oh, you're talking
I'm
about
just saying. I've heard, from other
yeah,
people.
of course, all the other people. Yeah. So my question would be to lead into this, monkeys. Did you watch it all, Jenkins, on camera during our event?
I saw like a fair amount of clips and stuff. One of my favorite ones was when you and T Governor, I believe, were on the whiteboard, and you had like all of the plans for the game like lined out or whatever, and then Brood is last picked, and you go and erase everything sporadically.
That was so.
That was a very good like little skit or whatever. I found that to be so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Actually.
Go
Dude,
ahead,
I'm
Jenkins.
glad you said that. I had this conversation with Kyle about just bitching about how like American TV is like lacking when it comes to physical comedy. Not that that's like some crazy bit that we did, obviously, but what I liked about it was that we were like able to actually do something physically because
Yeah.
I think this way for my YouTube videos too, and this is like half the reason that I quit Dota Alchemy was because I felt like in Dota, and I still feel this way, YouTube content, video content does not use the video medium to its advantage. People just talk over replays. That's all. But I want to use the screen to get people to understand a concept faster than if I were to just say an essay to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like YouTube videos are just like essays in Dota. Why the fuck was I talking about this again? Oh, right. Back to the physical comedy shit. The physical comedy shit. So I was really happy that happened with they picked Brood, and then we just did that as a joke. We didn't plan for it because we couldn't plan for Brood. But I was so happy that it happened because it was something physical. Oh, right. I remember. American TV. No physical comedy, just dialogue, and then you have like British TV, and it's like mostly physical comedy. And I feel like there's an in between, in that esports content creators need to do more physical stuff. Like Kyle was agreeing that tournaments don't do physical stuff. It's basically just people talking on a camera. But it's like, why am I watching? Why am I watching this thing with my eyes if I'm just hearing people talk on a panel? So working with WePlay is just so fucking amazing.
Yeah.
The camera work that they do, where like somebody will say something and then it'll zoom in on somebody sighing and then another person looking like uncomfortable. It's so much better. It's so much better.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
So
that's a massive tangent. I don't remember what you asked me.
Yeah, that's usually tends to happen here. Monkeys and I end up at some random subject, and I have to reel it back in. So what I was gonna say about this is that the events bring out a whole nother side of streamers or whatever. For me, I'm one of the few that actually regularly streams, but now that we've got like Lizard, Cap streams on the side, but has become more regular. It brings out a whole nother side of you, because now a lot of the stuff needs to be rehearsed if you want it to be professional, and then sometimes you're thrown into spots where you were in. I don't remember exactly why we had to do that. I think the draft panel wasn't working at that current series. So you guys that were supposed to be on the draft panel had to figure out some way to, fill the void with the time. You're already here for 3 hours. Might as well do something entertaining. So you're like, okay, what can we do? So that's what they decided. There's a lot of moments like that. And I think events specifically as like a broadcaster put you on the spot a lot. And it's a really cool skill to develop that I thought you were pretty natural at, which was pretty cool. But don't let it go to your head, just like clearly your hair is. So basically, where was I going with this? My point would be that like as a streamer, I feel like you have to train yourself to be consistently better. It really makes you hold yourself accountable. And so the segue I was going to have from here would be, monkeys, I know you've been streaming for a long time, but has like having a larger audience in the last year or so, have you had to like hold yourself more accountable? Have you noticed anything you've had to change about yourself, or has it just kind of been smooth sailing since nothing really changed?
Well, I mean, it definitely. My stream has evolved a shit ton over the years. I started streaming back in like the January of 2013, I want to say. So it's been almost 8 years now, and for a long time, I've said this before in the podcast in the past, where like for probably like 5 years or so, I was probably only getting up to probably about 500 viewers or so. And I had a very like small, tight-knit community of like pretty much just people acting like people, you know, like having conversations, just like being friendly
Crazy.
to each other,
Yeah.
just you know, just being a normal community. I feel, which is pretty rare on Twitch, but that was kind of what I was aiming to cultivate on my stream. And then obviously when my stream kind of blew up in the last like year and a half or whatever, I got up. I would move up from like 500 viewers to 1,000 viewers, 1,000 viewers to 1,500, 1,500 to 2,000, and then during TI of last year, I was getting up to 4,000, 5,000 viewers, and it really is just completely different because you can't you can't control that amount of people. Like you can't consistently pay attention to like every conversation that's happening in chat and like actually speak to individuals and actually like be aware of what's being discussed and everything, because you have the memers, you have the trolls, you have the I don't even know, just like the people who don't speak English that well and are trying to get their question across there. And it definitely took me a while to kind of get used to the change in community, because it really, I don't know, it's a lot more stressful when you have that many different types of people on your stream watching, because like when you're more stressed, then you start paying more attention to like the negative aspects and the negative things
Yes.
that are being said and stuff
I was
like
gonna
that.
say
And
you feel like you need to appeal to like a bunch of different
yeah,
conflicting ideas.
exactly.
It's like you need to be like, why isn't this streamer talking? Okay, why is it like this streamer sucks because you're like talking too much during the game? Be
Yeah.
educational. Don't just be good. Like yeah, no, it's the same thing on YouTube too. It's the same thing on YouTube. When you get past like a certain threshold, it's not just like the people that really like you, like that core community, which
Yeah.
are very important. But then you get the
Yeah.
people that are just commenting like, "You are 1K MMR Herald. Go fuck yourself. Your
Yeah.
mother's a crack whore." And it's like, like, bro.
Or like, why does this guy laugh at everything? Like it's not even funny. Or I
Oh
hate this
yeah,
guy's laugh. Or why is he so sad all the time? Like, go smile more. And it's like, I I'm sorry,
cringe.
I can't make all of this better for all of you. Like,
No,
At some point, you have to find that compromise of, okay, I want to be the best version of myself, but I also have to be a version of myself that, like, I'm happy with and that can't. I have to be confident in myself to not let that sheer amount of influence coming from the viewers affect me. Because for me, I feel like streaming and Dota brings out the worst in you sometimes because, like you said, they do highlight a lot of the things that you do wrong, whether or even just things that are slightly odd to them because they haven't watched you enough. It's like hanging out with a friend and having a conversation with them, then you've only met the guy like once or twice,
yeah.
comparing those two situations. And it's like, as a YouTuber, I was curious, Jenkins, you kind of answered it a bit already, but like, do you feel as a streamer, we have to interact with our community literally every day. Like if we are going to be an interactive streamer, and I know Monkeys and I both are, do you interact very much with your community, like in the comments or in the videos? Do you talk to them at all?
I do. I mean, I have a Discord. Patrons and people will message me. It's not nowhere near as much as Twitch, but it is like the bigger you get. I mean, it's like like obviously we're not doing brain surgery out here. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining or anything. This is fucking awesome that we get to do this, but it is like it's hard to remember people sometimes, and that will feel bad because it's like it's been 2 months since like somebody messaged you, and then they message you again, and you've like talked to so many people, responded to so many like comments that it's hard to remember. That was not answering the question even remotely. But what was your question again?
It was basically like you find yourself
We
interacting
all
with
go
them.
on. We all go on.
Dude,
random
embrace
tangents
it.
on this
People just want to hear
podcast.
us talk, but yeah, like, that's what the.
I did want to ask you guys a question. I did
Go
have
ahead.
a question
Go
when
ahead.
you guys were talking. Okay, so this is something that I think doesn't just apply to streaming or YouTubing or casting or playing Dota, but for me, it's been how I improved at those things. And I wish I knew this when I was younger. I wish I knew this like years ago. And my current idea for how to be a better video creator or talent or whatever it is just like trying to improve my person, if that makes sense. Like there was a while for like 2 years ago or whatever. I was like, I suck at telling stories. I need to be a better storyteller.
No way.
And I still suck. I still suck at telling stories, but I was watching Whose Line Is It Anyway? I was reading stories, and I legitimately think that that's a reason that when I casted with Cap, when I basically like I casted with Cap in this charity thing, and then we really enjoyed casting with each other, and then I think he recommended me for Omega League, so that got me here, which is really great. And I attribute all of that to the reason that I'm a better caster than I was before is because I got better at telling stories, like doing things with my voice, taking a short pause for emphasis, like things like that. You know what I mean? Having a punchline, and I feel like that applies to everything, not just being a talent. Like I feel like if you're trying to be a programmer or something, maybe the best thing to do is not to like read some book on programming. It's to like do something to make your mind better so that you're a better programmer. Get more sleep. You know what I mean? Like these extraneous kind of things as opposed to
for sure. Like
the actual thing.
Something something that actually has recently come back, because when I was younger, I had like a random speech impediment where I would stutter / I couldn't pronounce, like, I think it was S's and Z's or something like that, and this was when I was really young, and I got over it by like age 11 or something, and I could communicate effectively and fluently and everything. But then when quarantine happened, I quite literally just didn't speak to people for like 6 months or so, and those old mannerisms kind of have started to come back. As you can hear me speak, like I stutter a bit when I start start sentences and stuff, and that's actually something that I feel like I have to reprogram myself to get over again now, because it's not something that I want to be a part of my entire life or whatever. It's just like circumstances literally got me to like kind of regress in my speech patterns.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And like that's how I think you need to fix yourself to be like a better streamer. I don't think it's like you put on an act. It's that there needs to be no act. You know? Like you naturally just needs to be good at streaming, basically.
I think for me, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. It's that you are your own brand, right? And a lot of people, I wanted to briefly touch on this before continuing, where you talked about how you forget some of your viewers. I think one of the weirdest dynamics for a streamer talking to your viewers here is they're watching you all the time, right? If they're a viewer of yours, they see all your content, they feel like they know you. I feel like there's this weird dynamic that occurs where people
parasocial. They actually have a word for it now.
Oh, parasocial. Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that. Thank you, Jenkins. And they feel like they know you, and you don't know them at all. And there's a lot of interactions that people have with the streamer that comes with the assumption that we know them and treat them as a friend, right? And I have to believe that odd dynamic is they basically would expect us to treat them in a way that a friend would treat them, because they view us somewhat as a friend that they're hanging out with, right? Like they're here at our stream talking to us, seeing us, but then it's like we can't see you at all. And I think that weird dynamic there is a lot of the disconnect between what viewers sometimes expect from their streamer or content creator and what the content creator actually provides for them. And I think so I'm going to pull a Jenkins here and say I was going somewhere with this. Where was I going with this? So when it comes to like improving yourself, and it's like I don't think you can worry about each individual relationship you have with your viewers, right? Yes, you try to remember people. A lot of times if they're a regular subscriber or like a viewer that's always chatting, especially the ones that I like looking at what they're chatting about, like I think their contribution to the chat's overall beneficial. Aside from that though, you kind of just have to worry about, okay, how am I am my own brand. Like I have to make myself better. Like you said, there's no acting at the point of 8 hours of streaming every day. You want to make yourself as entertaining a version of yourself as possible. But then, Monkeys talks about how he has like that natural stutter. For me, I had a speech impediment of R's and W's, but for me, I'd say my main problem as a person is that I naturally latch on to negative energy. Like I very much latch onto that shit. And if I don't constantly monitor myself, I'll look at my stream and be like, God, I'm a whiny little bitch. Like, God. And that's like the
Yeah, I
natural
think the
thing
same
I
thing when I
fall
watch
back
your
into,
stream,
right?
actually.
Like, I fall back into that if I don't consciously think about it all the time. Even Collie will call me out on it sometimes, where she'll just be like,
Yeah.
you were very whiny yesterday, and I couldn't watch your stream for more than 5 minutes. And I'm like, damn it. And it's like the same habits happen in Dota too, right? Like, Jenkins, you've talked to me about sometimes the problems you face in Dota. I've talked about like my ability to focus. I usually lose like that 5 to 10 seconds of focus, and suddenly I feed, which really hurt me as a carry player. And so I guess my question following up, either one of you can answer. How often do you find these traits that, or like the way you have to approach getting better at these things, overlapping with your way you approach Dota?
Well, that's kind of where I was going with the whole thing, because I feel like it's not just streaming or being a personality. Like, it's Dota, it's being a carpenter, it's like fucking everything. It's we're we're animals, you know. We have eight brains. Like, nothing can make us escape that. Like, they've done brain scans, and you typically make a decision and then justify it afterwards. Like, your brain will instinctively make a decision. So I really feel like it's you just naturally have to be good at something and want to do it if you want to be successful at it. I would even go as far to say that I don't think it's just parasocial relationships where this applies to, like what you're saying about or you're saying about like not caring about maintaining the relationships.
No,
I
I'm
know
not.
this is super tangential. I'm not
Yeah.
saying not caring about maintaining, but not like obsessing over it. I actually feel like in real relationships, that to some degree is how you should be too. Because, and I think we've talked about this, Brian, where it's like, okay, if for instance, a very extreme example, but like let's say my girlfriend cheats on me, wasn't there probably a problem there in the first place if that happens? You know, like, do I need to obsess over thinking about like whether or not that's going to happen? Shouldn't I just go through life being the best me possible? And if the friends that are around me don't like me for that and I get new friends, isn't that okay? Wouldn't you want to just be the best you? Do you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That
So a way I can tie it into like playing competitive Dota as well is like when it the the way other players view you is actually so incredibly like uh important basically when it comes to competing, because like you have to you have to have like other people want to play with you, not just be like, oh, I'm just good at Dota, therefore people will play with me. It's like, oh, I'm good at Dota and I know how to speak with people and I know how to communicate my ideas and I know how to, you know, uh, I know how to shot call in team fights, or I know how to do this or this or this, and like it's kind of like you need to be able to present your best self to people in the scene to basically show that like, yes, I am pleasant to work with, yes, I am able to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm not like, I'm not just I'm not just like the classic Dota player who just kind of like sits there and wants all of the rewards without putting in the work, or whatever. And I think it,
you don't just play.
yeah, exactly.
There's a
And
lot more to it.
which I think is really important for a lot of people who strive to be competitive players to understand that, like, you know, interpersonal relationships and stuff actually go such a long way. Like even just like, asking a pro player for help on your gameplay and just being like, oh, how am I able to improve this aspect of my game, and like showing that you're willing to learn and willing to improve and like willing to put in the effort to like actually get better and like, better yourself as a person, not just as a player. It really does show. It shows like your grit, really, when it comes to all of this stuff. And it applies to being a streamer as well, because like you really can watch any streamer for a year and you'll notice their growth in certain areas, like yeah, whatever obscure area you want to bring up, like you'll be able to see them maturing and growing in those areas, because like I don't know. I feel like you can't be on Twitch and not grow as a person, because you have to deal with so much random shit.
It's true. It's true.
the way I would go off that is that, like, a lot of times the goal of this podcast, we don't always have to do it, but I do want a lot of the topics we talk about to be somewhat relatable to people, because obviously not most of the people watching are not streamers or content creators. And I think Kyle made a really good point recently where he said it seems it was a hypothesis he had, and he felt like it was confirmed true throughout the course of this event, that if you enjoy the people that you're working with off camera, you guys will put on a much better performance on camera.
Yes.
And it's
I
similar.
love that mentality.
Yeah, and it was huge. 100%. All of us are really good friends, and Jenkins, like, naturally you really fit into the group, and that's not something like you can fake, right? And that's not something where it is established very quickly, and it's just like that in the regular workplace too. Like, if you're on a project with a fellow coworker and you enjoy working together, the output of work is going to be way better. And I think people underestimate how important it is to be good to work with. And these are skills that you need to work on, like to pay attention. And even Jenkins, you said you've learned some like very valuable lessons from Cap. And I pointed out that at my first TI-8, that Sheever was a godsend for me. She gave me, it's just like 3 or 4 one-liners, like
no, dude, it's the one-liners
that they say, and you're just like,
yeah.
Wow.
Like, oh my god!
Like,
I literally I was eating food with Cap, and we were talking about something, and then I started saying one of these one-liners. I was like, oh wait, fuck, you told me that.
Yeah, you were the one. I'm literally just telling you what you told me yesterday.
So embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
I want to say that, like, obviously we all have room to grow or whatever, but bringing together 3 people that I do, or I can't include myself, 2 other people that I respect what you guys contribute to the Dota community, that I want to encourage people. The biggest part about casting and broadcasting, as well as playing on a team, because Monkey is, to be quite frank, is one of the few teammates I've thoroughly enjoyed playing with over the course of my time in Dota, that it's so important. Yeah, I don't know if that's a compliment to you more so, or an insult to all the other people I've played with, but it's so important to worry about how you come off to others and how you treat them with respect, and treat them with humility. Like, if listen to them, give them, like, no matter what. Like, the point to me that was so shocking, and something I've talked to someone like Owen even about recently, OD Pixel, is the way he acts. I'm like, dude, honestly, with how I'm trained to think about people in general, maybe it's just a North American mentality, maybe it's just a mentality in general.
It seems like he's faking it.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way you're actually a good person.
All the fucking time.
Like, there's no way you're this nice and also good at what you do. I'm like, honestly, OD Pixel, if I like only saw your personality and you told me you were a broadcaster, I would think you're really new and kind of shit. Like, that's what I said to him. I'm like, you're just so nice and humble all the time. Like, they take constructive criticism. They're constantly, they're constantly asking, like, how can we be better? Like, this is the only common trait I can see between OD Pixel, Sheever, and Slacks, who I'm not taking away anybody else. Like, obviously, Fogged and Cap, all of them too. But, like, I see those traits and I'm just like, how can these people be so genuinely humble, but yet so successful? They treat me like I'm an equal especially when I just started, right?
When you fucking know you're not.
Yeah, and it's like, it's like, obviously I still think I'm a step below them, but I've been friends with them now for like 3 years. That's like different. They treated me this way when I was at like my first event, right? And Jenkins, you just got this treatment as well. And as like a streamer broadcaster, it's like, wow, all I have to do is be a decent human being and people will work with me.
It's true. One story about Owen, and that's something about Slacks, but Owen, we were talking about what will you do if Dota dies? And everybody was so depressed, and it's like, oh, I guess I'd go back to school, or blah, blah, blah. I don't think Dota's going to die. Like, everybody was so defensive about it. And then Owen's just like, well, I'd probably go back and work at the grocery store, wouldn't I? Oh, I'd be fine with that. What do you mean? You'd just be cool with it? You wouldn't, like, try to go into esports? He's like, no, I'd be happy as long as I have a house and I can play games. It's like, fucking Owen, are you serious, dude? I couldn't believe it. And I asked him, dude, I was like, dude, okay, you go to jail for a year, and you get $1 billion. And he said, I don't need $1 billion. I was fucking mind blown. Everybody else is like theory crafting. It's like, well, can I use the internet at the jail? Owen's just like, nope, I don't need $1 billion. Fucking insane. And then with Slacks, Slacks is a really interesting person. Slacks is like so smart, and I think it's like to the point everybody knows that he's smart. Um, Anybody who still thinks that he's like the clown that he puts on camera is like, living in 2018 or whatever when people didn't know him. Like Slacks is a genius, and he theory crafts this shit all the time. I know he does because I've talked to him about it. Like I asked him, what does he? I don't remember what the. I was talking to him about like the fact that he has this like fountain of ideas. Like it's really hard to have a genuine new concept where it's like from nothing, let's say like let's make a game, like come up with new mechanics. You're gonna add Dota mechanics, you're gonna add League mechanics. Like Slacks is the type of guy that will just be like, okay, how about a dolphin? Like how about a dolphin game? And it's like, bro, where the fuck are you pulling this from? Like it just comes out of him, right? And so I was asking him about like how he has this fountain of ideas, and he went on this long, extremely well thought out tangent for me about how he thinks that a creative team needs to have three different types of people: somebody to make ideas that has 9 out of 10 shit ideas, somebody to hone in on the good ideas, and then somebody to execute the ideas. And so he went off that the story doesn't really matter, but what is most important is that I realized at that moment that like, man, this guy fucking theory crafts this shit all the time. Like he theory crafts coming up with ideas and gets better at it. It's not that he's theory crafting, how do I do this for esports? He just wants to be good at making ideas. It's just like, it's like almost competitive. You know what I mean? And I think that's shared between like top talent, Dota players, top Dota players. It just put in like a different direction depending on the person.
Just to give an example of Slacks of coming up with ideas, I think it was at the Paris Major in 20. When was it? 2018, I think.
Blurs together.
No, or 2019.
Oh my god, he was telling me about his ideas from there.
I don't even remember what year it was. Anyways, I was on Complexity at the time, and we had just lost to EG in the group stage, and we lost them 2-0, I think. And because Sumail was on that iteration of EG, and he's referred to as the king, and we were at the Disneyland Paris Major. So like I actually remember this so specifically because we were actually in a scrim, and our hotel room for our computer area was broken or whatever, and so people could just come in and leave whenever they wanted. There was no lock on it because the hotel just fucked it up. And anyways, so we were in like the draft of a scrim or something, and Slacks just barges in, points at Limp, and is like, Limp, do you want to do a skit with Sumail where he's Mufasa and he's like dropping you to the stampede or whatever? And Limp just kind of like looks over shyly and he goes, yeah, I guess, sure. And Sock's like, great, and he just barges out of the room. Like he's just so adamant about getting like his content ideas like done or whatever, and yeah. He's like, he's very quick with it too, because again that was like 2 hours after we had lost to EG. Like he had this already in like the back of his mind. He was just waiting for like a way to execute it, basically.
my quick follow-up was that Slacks came to all of us with this like dolphin hero idea, and he's like, okay guys, give it to me, abilities, like what is this dolphin gonna do? And we just spent as like a group maybe 15 minutes just brainstorming. I personally will take credit for the echolocation spell that the dolphin had if it was ever put into the game. I'll take credit for that one. I came up with that one, thank you. But the whole point is that he like has this idea and he's like, let's just fucking run with it, boys. What do we got here? Yeah. Give it to me, throw it at me. And it's like this guy is like the idea of like being a streamer, content creator that I've realized very recently is it's like so much about what are other people doing? How can I work with these other people to combine my skill set with their skill set? It's a lot about the networking. A lot of people may seem like, somebody even in chat said, isn't this just like business 101? Like, isn't this simple stuff? The fact is people have not had to do this for esports. Like this is a new industry, a whole new ball game with streaming and content creating. And we've talked about bettering ourselves as streamers. We've talked about or content creators, sorry, Jenkins, for excluding you there. We've talked about, what we have to worry about on a day-to-day basis. But at the end of the day, it's like, this is where it comes down to, are they enjoyable to work with? How can we help each other be better? And a lot of times I've lost faith in the Dota community as of like in a way of like building each other up. It's all about like who can overtake who, and I feel like that dog eat dog mentality is only for the worst. Like I think it doesn't like yes, you want competition, yes, you want like innovation to be fueled, but go ahead.
We're playing an old game, man. We can't do that anymore. It can't be like that. Like there are so few tier 2 NA teams now. The views on YouTube are low. Valve, a lot of the Dota devs went to the Half-Life Alyx from what I hear. Like we have to do better. Like I think people need to like collaborate and like I've been helping UBSJ. I don't know if we talked about thumbnails, but I've been helping like Lukey with thumbnails on YouTube and some other people just because it's like I just want Dota content to do well because I want my game to exist 5 years from now, you know? So I also think like the scene has matured. Like people are just older and realizing that it doesn't have to be as spitefully competitive.
Of course we're older because there's no new players coming
Yeah,
in,
exactly.
at least in NA.
Exactly. So it's like people are all old now, and we realize that being like viscerally, toxically competitive is not good.
Yeah, it's just a lot of. I mentioned it even earlier on my stream before this podcast. There's a lot of gatekeeping going on. I feel like the cool thing about the upper echelon of the broadcasting talent is that they're the most welcoming group of them all, right? Like you felt it this event, Jenkins. I've talked about it before. 100%. Like, why can't that bleed into the Dota scene as a whole? Why can't that happen?
I feel like it has to some degree. I don't think it's bled in, but I mean I haven't played competitively for years now, so maybe I'm just talking out of my ass. But I feel like seeing, for example, like Mason streaming, just period. If you told me Mason was going to be a big streamer like 4 or 5 years ago, it's like, no fucking way that guy's going to stream. He's just going to play Dota all day and, try to win tournaments and stuff. Like, it's like Monkeys was saying, like people have Dota players have this mentality of just literally all they need to do is grind Dota. I had that mentality. It's a huge fucking mistake.
It is.
Literally everyone has had that mentality at one point or another, in my opinion.
Yeah. It doesn't work though. It doesn't work. And I feel like if you don't quit the game, like at a certain point, you have to realize that you need to do more than just literally mindlessly grind pubs all day. Even if you don't want to stream.
Yeah.
I literally like back when I was playing competitive, I literally didn't even watch my own replays. I didn't give a shit. I just like I was like, I'm just gonna pub. I'm just gonna get better with pubbing. But now I realize that like probably 4 or 5 pubs a day is like max for me to put in my 100% effort, and the rest of the day, I don't know, maybe you guys tell me if you agree or disagree, but the rest of the day should be spent like talking about Dota, rock climbing or going to the gym, whatever, like relaxing, looking at replays, watching like pros play, watching yourself play. Like most of the day shouldn't be spent grinding pubs. It just takes all your energy out of you.
There's definitely way more of a balance there than people kind of let on, because like I mean I feel like it's partially because 8 years ago or whatever, grinding pubs was what every single Dota pro did. It was just play Dota, just get your mechanical skill up and you'll be good. Just play Dota. But then like Dota really has evolved so much from that, because like just being mechanically skilled isn't good enough anymore. You have to have the foresight. You have to be able to see the game play out in your head just from the draft. You have to be able to understand like what areas of the map you're going to control at what times, what objectives you're going at, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Like how are you going to get these bounty runes? How are you like there's so much more that goes into the game than just mechanical skill now, because like all of these top teams, they do think about all of this stuff every single time, and that's why they're so good. So there is a lot more that goes into like the behind the scenes now, in my opinion, of just like understanding thought processes and understanding like, or being able to predict your opponent, or again, as you said, just like working out for your own mental health, so like you stay happy enough to like be able to continuously do all of that stuff.
I think go ahead, Jenkins.
Oh, I was just going to say, once again, it just goes back to the fact that, like, this idea that you should just be a better person, and then whatever the thing that you're doing will be a lot a lot better of a product.
Yeah.
Like no matter what your product is.
Yeah.
A lot of people. This will be one of the last topics we overall discuss. But I never rushed the ending of this. You guys have had a lot of good things to say, but a lot of people obviously ask us. You even mentioned with Owen, what happens when Dota dies, or where are you going to be in 5 to 10 years? And for me personally, as like a content creator, I've thought to myself that the reason I've gotten to where I am, and that I'm confident that I'm not just going to fall off the face of the earth in terms of content tomorrow, for instance, is because my focus has been purely on what's the next best thing I can do for myself. This applies in a Dota game. It applies as a content creator.
Sure.
It's not always something I can maintain. Like if I was perfect, I'd do it all the time. But sometimes you fall off that path. But trying to remind yourself that doing the next best thing is really all we can do. Because a lot of times in a Dota game, it's like if you ask me at 5 minutes what's going to happen at 20, I couldn't tell you. And if it's like in terms of streaming, it's like what's going to happen in a year or two. It's like I didn't even know, for instance, like Twitch bounties would be a thing, or I didn't even know I could make money from sponsorships because 2 years ago there was no real money in sponsorships. It's like, so I guess I asked myself, or I already mentioned briefly like what my approach is, but do you guys think similarly for your content creation, or like how do you feel about like the longevity of your careers in that regard? Do you think you'll just naturally adapt to what happens to you, or you obviously not directed at anyone in particular for this one?
I think similar to what you said. Like I feel like what you said is not just a career thing. It's not just a Dota thing. It's like just life, isn't it? Like life goes on. Like some shit happens, you just fucking deal with it and just move on. Like no matter what, you could be in. Let's say we're playing Dota and Dota 3 comes out, Dota 4, it's the biggest game in the fucking world. There's Dota Olympics, like where our careers are set. Other shit's gonna happen. Like your car's gonna break down, your family are gonna die, like shit's gonna happen in your life. I'm just saying shit's gonna happen in life. It's gonna put a wrench into whatever shitty human plans that you have. So the way I see it, it's like this is just, if Dota is dying, this is just one curveball that life is throwing, but there's going to be so many that are happening in your life because that's how life is. It's just things happening and you deal with it. But for me, I think similarly to you, where it's like the way that I got here was just being me, I guess, and trying to be productive at whatever it is that I'm doing. And so I feel like if I go work a programming job or whatever, it's going to be, it's not like your creativity goes away. It's not like, so monkeys, for example, it's like not like your ability to like strategize and think in advance, or like communicate with like a very tight knit team of people and do research on like somebody that you're competing with. Like all of these things are very relevant life skills. And I always say this to my girlfriend when sometimes she'll, Dota player, she'll have this like sunken cost idea that she's like put a lot of time into Dota, and it's like, oh, I'm not even making money from it, I'm not pro, like what's the fucking point, I wasted so much of my life. And it's like, no, you're only wasting time if you're not learning anything from whatever it is that you're doing, and so I think if you're playing Dota all day and you're not learning shit, then yeah, you're wasting your time. But you can play Dota all day and become a fucking savant and win a Nobel Prize if you're pulling out golden nuggets of information and life lessons from it. Like I've learned to deal with toxicity extremely well because of Dota. There's no way somebody in real life can insult me the way people have insulted me in Dota. I don't give a shit when people insult me at the grocery store if I accidentally cut them in line. It means fuck all to me. Grocery store. Yeah,
How frequently do you run into that situation, Jenkins?
Not a lot. It was a very bad analogy, okay? My analogy game is not great, but there's skills that you pull out of gaming. I think that whole boomer mentality that like, oh, games, they're gonna rot your brain and you're not learning anything from them. It's like, yeah, if you fucking suck, you're not gonna learn from playing games. That's you. That's your problem. That's
based.
Well, and to add on to, or like at least for me, I've kind of always just been a go with the flow type of person, because my competitive career in Dota has actually been the most like spontaneous, random thing ever. Like I think when I was 20, I want to say 22 years old, or maybe I was 23. I don't remember at this point. But when I was like 23 years old, I was literally just streaming playing a pub one night as Offlane Morphling for like maybe 200 viewers on my stream, and I randomly got a Steam message from Kyle saying, "Hey monkeys, abandon your game right now and come ring for us in like the BTS qualifier grand finals or something." I was just like, oh well, Kyle wouldn't be asking me this if he wasn't serious. So like, I just abandoned my game and went and played that match with them, and we ended up losing in the end. But then, literally 3 hours later at midnight, Kyle messages me again and is like, "Hey, you want to fly out to Canada and play a LAN event with us in like 11 hours?" And I was like, all right, sure. I guess I already have my passport. Let's go to Canada. Woo! but I mean, like, situations like that have just kind of taught me that you really can't predict your career in this esports scene. Like, there's so many random things that could happen at like any given moment, and as long as you are just constantly working on yourself and working to be a better you, people do recognize your hard
It's
work
true.
and your effort. And like I mean, after the Paris Major last year, or 2 years again, I think it was last year. After the Paris Major last year, I thought I was done competing. I genuinely did, and I I I went full time streaming. I was literally streaming 6 or 7 days a week for at least 9 months, and I mean, my stream blew up because of it. But like, I genuinely thought I was kind of done competing, and then Four Zoomers comes out of nowhere, and now here I am back at it again. Like,
Yeah.
it's really difficult, in my opinion, to like map out your entire
Sure.
or like what you're going to be doing in Dota, because like there's so many things to do in Dota when it comes to talent. Like you can play, you can cast, you can analyze, you can do replay analysis, you can you can do whatever. There's such a need for content in the scene that like if you put in the effort, like you'll succeed. You
Right.
really will.
I have two. I have one. Number one, I have a Kyle story, and then number two, in response to what you just said, I think it was Moxie or Pop Tart or somebody that asked me when with Grant being gone and everything, uh, is there space for another caster to be like the NA person? And I said yes, but like not because Grant is gone. Fuck Grant, he doesn't matter. The reason that he was successful was because there's a million different niches out there. Like Dota has such a if you look at Dota content versus other game content, Dota is 100%
It's starved. It's
It's
literally starved.
So if you just go out and you make content and you just do whatever you're best at, you will be successful if you just keep doing it and you just put in the effort. Okay, number two, Kyle's story. Same thing kind of happened to me actually for this event. Kyle messaged me because with COVID, he didn't think that maybe some of the Americans wouldn't be able to fly out
Mhm.
to Ukraine. So he messaged me like asking if I would maybe go to Ukraine. And when he messaged me, like I sent him my YouTube channel. I don't even think he knew I had a YouTube channel. And then he's like, "Oh wow, these videos are like popping off. This is good for you," sort of thing. And then so he was talking about what would possibly be done at the event, and then I linked him videos that I made for ESL based on him seeing my YouTube channel. And then he's like, "Oh shit, we could get you at the event to do these." And then I'm brought to the event, and I didn't do any videos. They just had me do it. Was just kind of we did whatever the fuck we
Yeah.
wanted, and then they just put cameras on it. And it's like you're totally right that literally this sequence of like he didn't even know I had a YouTube channel, and he just messaged me because COVID, and then it ended up me linking him the ESL videos, and then because I linked him the ESL videos, which are unlisted, so there's no way he could see them unless he had asked me, and
Yeah.
we got into this conversation, and then all of a sudden I'm flying out, and I'm just casting games with OD Pixel and
Yeah.
shit, and it's no, you're totally right. It's just you have no idea when these like opportunities are going to come up. But I think being flexible, is that the word, like available for when they do, and you're willing to actually do the thing.
Yeah.
I'd say malleable is a good word for it too. I think
Sure.
to combine what you guys are saying in a bit, because I like a lot of the points in tandem with each other, is that I think it's a lot about like Dota as a game has trained me to realize that training your mindset as well as like realizing that not things you do in life are not independent of each other. Like you guys, we've already talked a bit about how it meshes with real life and content creation, all that kind of stuff. But I've never been a person that's very good at accepting I'm just doing something. Like I think if you want to be great at something or just improve yourself in general, you have to do everything with the intent to be better. Like that constant mentality will lead you to be more prepared when opportunities are thrown your way. Like all of us have had these random moments in our career. I've talked about them before, and I'm not going to share another one on this, but you just suddenly the opportunity sprung upon you, right? And it's like you didn't plan for this, but you're ready for it. And like you're thrown into the situation that you've never been in before because of all the hard work and preparation you've put in going into it. It's like maybe some people in chat have kind of been memeing that we're like preaching, you know, all that kind of stuff, like this mentality. But that's the commonality I've seen through everyone that is successful. Not a single person I've seen that is successful that I've ran into has not had some semblance of that quality. And it's not expecting that to happen to you, right? None of us expected this to happen to us. We weren't like, Jenkins not doing all this good YouTube content and says, I better one day get a good casting gig or, you know, some recognition for my hard work.
You're free time.
Yeah, you're just doing it and you're like, I think this is the best I can do with myself right now. Like I think this is what I offer to the community. That's and we all did that in our own capacity. And so I'm just encouraging everybody else, but also like reverberating what you guys are saying, that it really is all about what you attempt to learn out of something. Whether that's a hobby, like if Dota is just a hobby for you, it can teach you a lot of things that will benefit you in the rest of your life. But if you are playing Dota 6 to 8 hours a day with no intent to improve yourself in Dota, you're also just wasting your time in terms of improving yourself in real life. So I would only encourage you, if you do play or do anything in your life that takes up a large portion of your time, don't do it for the sake of doing it. Like always look
with a purpose.
Yeah, with a purpose. And it applies to everything, whether or not that's a hobby or not. And I think it's a relatively good message to end in this podcast on, but do either of you have any final words or things I interrupted you on?
I mean, I could go on forever about
Yeah,
that.
I know. I always have to cut Monkeys and I off because, you know, I want the podcast to be about 45 minutes to an hour, but obviously we would be welcome to have you on in the future if you didn't hate yourself here, Jenkins. But since you said you wanted to you said you could talk, and since it may be a while before people hear from you, at least in this platform, feel free to share anything else that you thought after I said that.
Okay.
I'm really putting you on the spot. Just like the rap battle last night, Rich just owned your ass.
He didn't fucking own me. He didn't own me. It was very even. If not, it was at least 40% in my favor. And you suck ass at rapping.
Yeah, BSJ.
I once again, the classic NA mentality. I tell you you're a bad rapper, and you attack my capabilities as a rapper. Time to self-reflect and have some humility, Jenkins. Because yeah, I suck at rapping too. Don't worry, buddy. On that wonderful note, I'm gonna let you guys go. That's gonna be the end of our third episode, I believe now, of BananaSlamJaron podcast, and appreciate you, Jenkins, for coming on. And
Thanks, Jenkins.
It's been a privilege doing this event with you, and I'm sure we'll see each other in the future. And always, Monkeys. You can't see me, but I gave you a salute. Thanks for coming on again, buddy. We'll hear plenty from you next week, though, so we don't have to act like that's any significance. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Next time. I believe.
Okay,
Fuck 'em up.
See you guys later.
See you, boys.
All right, see you guys.